fair bit of groundwork, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the stuff that we worked on the ground. The biggest thing for Fairly, and part of it's because she's so young, she's only 2 years old, she turns 3 this year, is she's got the attention span of a squirrel, and she is very bargy. Like, her answer if she gets scared or anything is to just like try to push through. So I did a lot of work with her at the carousel and with some other things to try to teach her to slow down and to think and to use her feet. And doing that kind of work on the ground is super important to help her be ready for the saddle. You can see here even she's fidgeting a little bit. I'm not going to get too much on her case because she's still standing here. You turned a little bit too much there, so I'm asking her to bring her hip back. I give my horses like a little bit of space that they can move around, but there she rotated a little bit too much. So anyways, I'm going to do a little bit of the groundwork stuff that I was working on with her, explain it a little bit, and then we're going to see how she does on her very first ride. All right, let's take a look.
All right, so here we go with some groundwork with Fairly before we get started under saddle. And I'm starting with the wacky wavy man because it's a good test to kind of see how the horses do with a lot of stimulus, especially if I'm going to be getting on the horses. I want to know how they're going to react to kind of new things or potentially scary things, especially with me being 5 months pregnant at this point. I want to make sure that I'm not putting myself or my baby girl in harm's way. So I want to have my horses super duper well prepared. I want to basically have a very uneventful ride. If we do anything exciting, then that's not really the goal of what I want. I want everything to be really, really calm. So the more I can expose her to and the more we can try, then the better chance I have of having a nice quiet ride. So first I practiced parking her side by side with the wacky wavy man, and then I asked for the sideways to see if she can still focus while there's something like that going on that's very distracting. And so she does really, really a great job there being still attentive to me while that's going on. So that's perfect. And basically exactly what I'm asking for. And I love having the poles there because they just give a good guideline for the horse to know where to be and where to stand, rather than if there's nothing there, then it can make it a little bit harder for the horse to have a visual of what you want. It just makes it a little bit more clear and a little bit easier for them to do. So she handled that really well. So she passed that test. And so I'm just kind of testing out all of the little pieces that I'm going to do. And I'm going to be riding her in the fusion halter. So by practicing things like the turning left and right and doing the back up and the stopping is all preparing her for when I get on her back. So here I wanted to show you guys the progress that she's made with the carousel. So if you remember from her last video when I did the update, last month's update with her, she was very much running into the carousel and was like really kind of charging at it and was really fast. So here now I'm able to send her into the carousel, meaning that she's going without me, she's ahead of me. Basically, it's kind of like I'm lunging her into it almost. It's a ascending posture, and she's able to walk a lot calmer with it. You can see that she's going a lot slower. I don't mind that she's kind of stopping and hesitating and kind of saying, like, do you want me to keep going? Because that's really a good kind of response where she's thinking and she's checking in with me and doing a lot better with that. So I'm going to send her the other way. We always want to make sure we do both directions because sometimes horses can have one way that they're calmer than the other. So we want to make sure we practice both sides. Otherwise your horse can kind of end up wild on one side and really well trained on the other. So she tries to sneak around the corner of the edge there of the carousel, but I've got the rope short enough that I kind of ask her to stay straight with the carousel, and she does really well. And you can see she's walking nice and relaxed there. She's not charging at it. She's not running at it, because that tends to be Fairly's kind of go-to response, is if she's not sure about something, she tries to kind of just charge and blast through it a little bit. Whether it's the carousel, she tried to like jump through it before, or whether it's a bridge or something like that, then she tends to, if she's not sure about it, she tends to just kind of jump across it. And that makes me pretty happy for when I'm hoping that this horse is going to end up being a nice big jumper for me. And so I don't mind her having that kind of jump forward instinct, because that will play to my advantage when it comes to show ring time. But for now, I want to teach her to be a really calm, thinking horse. So here I'm just showing you a little bit of lunging and a little bit of asking her to go over the tiny little jump there. It's a little bit tricky, my ring right now, because there's a bunch of obstacles that were set up. So the horse has to navigate around them, which I don't mind, because it means they have to use their brain and they have to think a little bit of where they're going. But it's not the ideal angle to do the jump on. So there you can get a little look of the tiny little things that we're working on. Basically, I'm just asking Fairly to be willing, and I want her to be really responsive to the energy up and the energy down. So if we only practice things at the walk or at really kind of slow speeds, and we never let the horse bring their life up, then we don't get to practice what I call emotional control. And so sometimes horses can be really, really calm at the walk or even walk trot, but then they get to the faster speeds and they kind of blow up a little bit and they can't contain themselves. They're so excited. And especially because I'm about to do my first ride on her, I want to make sure that she has emotional control, that she's in an emotionally stable state, and that being energetic is not going to set her off. Because if something happens and she does end up taking a few trot steps or something, I don't want her to get excited and get all frisky and be wound up and get going. So by practicing sending her over the jump, then we know that it's going to be, that she's going to stay pretty stable. So here's a look at the mounting block. First, I just walked up on the mounting block, jumped off, and then brought her over again a second time. And then here I'm asking her to bring her hip over. So right from the beginning, I want to teach my horses to really kind of line themselves up to mount and bring their bodies close to the mounting block. And then I teach them how to take a treat from in the saddle. So here she got confused, and so she walked around the mounting block. So now I'm just kind of bumping the rope a little bit to say the answer's not go forward. And sideways towards me, something that she knows. In fact, you guys got to watch her do it just a few minutes ago when I asked her to go sideways towards me over the pole. And so she does know that. So it took a little bit of patience, but then she was able to bring her hip over to me, and I'm just giving her some friendly rubs. And what I want to do is give the treat on the opposite side. So unfortunately there, I didn't have a treat ready, but this is kind of what happens is if you don't teach the horse to take the treat on the opposite side, then what they do is they look at you for the treat, and then because they look at you, their hip swings out the wrong way. And that's the problem that happens. So what I want to teach my horses is to come sideways towards the mounting block, which here, what she kept on doing is instead of bringing her hip, she was bringing her shoulder, and then she would hit the mounting block with her front legs and spook herself and go back the other way. And so we kind of do this, like, come towards the mounting block, she scares herself, she goes the other way. It's like, okay, Fairly, can you please, like, put two and two together that you're supposed to bring your hip around? And she was getting pretty confused and pretty frustrated with that. So I try a couple different things. I try kind of switching my posture a little bit. I try kind of waving, but she's not really sure. She wants to turn around. And I think it's important in these situations to help the horse figure out the answer rather than just, getting off the mounting block and repositioning the horse. I think it's better for them if they can figure it out, if you're able to clarify for them what you want them to do. So what I end up doing is unclipping the rein so that way I can use my rein to kind of bump the side of her there. And I'm actually not hitting her, I'm hitting the saddle, and it's making a noise, which is why she's kind of jumping a little bit. So there I'm just kind of shaking it at the side of her a little bit, but I'm not actually like wailing on her. I'm touching the saddle pad in the saddle, and I'm trying to ask her to understand you need to bring your body over. And she keeps insisting that no, she can go around the mounting block and do something different. But as soon as she starts to realize what the direction that I'm asking that she can do it, then I'm very soft with her. And then you can kind of see there exactly where the rope is hanging is that it's right on the saddle pad area. So then what I'm trying to do now that she's in the position is I want her to understand that you take the cookie from the opposite side, which she doesn't really understand. So what I'm going to do is show her the treat and show her how to bend and take the treat from that side. And that's an important thing for the horse to learn, because I want to teach my horses to bring their bodies closer to the mounting block. So now I'm going to do another go of that, and we'll see how she does this time. So I ask her to line herself up, and she's pretty close that time, so she doesn't have to do a whole lot of swinging her hip, and she's standing nicely. So then I'm going to practice giving the treat on the opposite side again and see if she understands how to do that. So my cue is I kind of tap them on the neck to let them know that it's there. And then I want her to understand, and then I kind of realize, like, oh shoot, like I'm not as flexible as I used to be now that I'm 5 months pregnant. So I kind of get off, and now I offer her the treat from the other side, and again show her how to bend her neck, which is what I want her to do. So I want her to be relaxed at the mounting block. I want her to be happy at the mounting block. And I really want her to know how to bend to take the treat. Because sometimes when you get on their backs, if you haven't taught them how to do that yet, it can worry them and upset them a little bit, because they're like, well, why are you leaning forward on me? And why are you, like, what are you doing? They get confused. So it's helpful if they have an understanding of that already. So here I ask her to move her hip over, and there she goes, and she moves her hips, since it does a great job there. So I'm going to give her some praise and make sure she understands that that is exactly what I wanted her to do. And it's a good example of why, when she struggled the first time, instead of giving up or doing something else, I just was patient and waited for her to figure out the answer rather than resorting to something else. So that time she understood how to take the treat. So for me, I'm like, okay, you're ready for me to get on. So she's going to take the treat there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do some mounting work with her. And for me, it's really important that my horses stand perfectly still at the mounting block. Not just because of now that I'm pregnant, but also because that I just think it's really good manners for a horse to stand at the mounting block. If they're walking off in the mounting block, it means either that they're anxious, or they're not being patient for you, or they're putting more energy in than what you asked. Whatever the reason is, whether it's rude or anxious or too much energy, either way, I want my horses really patient and just standing still for me. So she takes a few steps and she kind of wiggles a little bit, and I don't want to be worried about that. And she's kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? But it's my first time sitting on her, and she stayed pretty calm and didn't really do anything. So I'm still going to give her her treat, because I want her to understand that we're in no hurry to get going. And especially for the off-the-track thoroughbreds, I find that that's super helpful, because I really want my thoroughbreds to know that this life that you're in now is so different from racing that there's no reason for you to even consider that you should be excited and wanting to run forward, and you're not even at all in your past racing life. So this is so different. We want you to stop, we want you to bend. Not that they don't stop them at the track and things like that, but it's a very different type of ride when they're at the racetrack. A lot of the times the horses don't necessarily stand still. Like sometimes the horses are moving while they get on them. And so by starting it like this, where you get on and you just breathe and you just stand and you get a treat, it's a very different start to the ride than what she would have had in the past. So I want her thinking like, okay, like there's no hurry here. So because this time she stood perfectly still while I got on, she took the treat, we're not in any hurry to get going anywhere. I'm going to give her another little treat here just to thank her for being really, really patient. And then we're going to get going with a little bit of riding. And for me, it all depends on the horse, but I take as much time as it takes to get exactly what you've just seen here before I'm going to move on and actually do any riding. And so the horse gets to kind of dictate how long that process takes. And if you watch Bling's video of Bling's first ride, you'll see that Bling kind of got it right on the first try. She stood at the mounting block, she took the treat from me, and she didn't go anywhere. So I got to Bling's riding a little bit sooner. But remember that Fairly is only 2 years old still. She turns 3 soon. I forget when her birthday is off the top of my head, but she's younger than Bling. And so Bling has had a lot more race riding. So it's going to be different for both of them. So basically here, what I want to do for Fairly's first ride is just establish some relaxation at the walk. And I love this horse. Her personality is not for everybody, that's for sure, but neither is Trivia Time, my gray mare that I do all my bridleless demos with. They're both kind of spunky little beans, and Fairly naturally is not super confident. But what I love about this horse is you can just see the athleticism in her and the natural balance that's in her. When I was walking there, like, I'm not asking her to put her head in a frame or anything like that. I'm not asking her to stretch, and she's carrying herself so nicely already. So here I'm just asking her to stand with the stuffed toy on her one side. So what I like to do with my horses is teach them that they're not allowed to look and not allowed to touch, that they need to just trust me. And that's because if you can imagine, you're trail riding or you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and a flock of birds flies out of the woods, or a dog comes running across the arena, whatever it is that's unexpected, you can't always let your horse look and touch at everything. So I like to teach my horses, like, hey, we're going to, practice parking beside different things, and you just have to trust me and not react. But I just love, look at this horse. She's stunning. She's just stunning. She's got such a nice conformation to her compact, powerful build. She's naturally kind of uphill. And just the way she's moving with me, you can just see that she's got a lot of natural collection in there. So polar opposite kind of ride from Bling. So when you watch Bling do her first ride, you're going to see she's walking around like a giraffe. A totally different type of conformation and natural balance. So I'm pretty excited for Fairly. That's going to be her first ride there. All I wanted was just walk around and show her that this type of work is going to be really different. I think it's important when we do our first ride that we teach our horses that it is very different from their past life, I should say, with off-the-track thoroughbreds. Because, well, whether it's an off-the-track thoroughbred or it's any horse that's had any kind of high energy state or anything going on where they're really rushed or anything like that, I think it's really important that we just kind of show them, hey, like, this is a really different lifestyle now. And I think if you take the time to do your first couple rides kind of like this, where it's slow, we practice mounting, we go for a really relaxed walk, and we kind of repeat and do it again, and we're not in such a hurry to get trotting and get cantering and get jumping, then it really sets the horse up to be so relaxed and so much calmer, because you take care of all that anxiety and all that angst right from the beginning. Gosh, look at her. Look at how she just naturally balances. I just love that. She's just so wonderful in the way she carries herself. And I know that was just a very small piece of walk there, but I just love the way she moves. I'm so excited for this horse. So I just did one more kind of get on, go for a little walk, stop, and hop off, just to really set her up for success there. I hope you guys found that really interesting. I'm pretty excited for this horse. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And so remember to comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time on our next adventure. Bye for now.